Batman v Superman, one of the most anticipated movies of 2016 and really one of the most anticipated movies of all time. It's unbelievable to think that these two characters have never been on screen together. Knowing Hollywood, they make a movie about anything. They want to reboot everything. They want to remake everything. And we finally, after 8 decades of these characters existing, see them together on the big screen. The verdict is in, and this movie is
really bad.
Batman Superman takes place 18 months after the events of Man of Steel. We know what happens in Man of Steel, where General Zod invades Earth and Superman must stop him. There's all this death and destruction, and in the destruction, Wayne Tower gets destroyed. Wayne Tower in Metropolis. So Batman has been harboring this hatred for Superman since the attacks. Batman has been fighting crime in Gotham for 20 years in this movie. He is an older Batman, and he almost has an inferiority complex. Batman has been brutalizing criminals for the past 20 years, and here comes this godlike messiah figure, and Batman is questioning his own legacy. Where do I stand in the world with this now Superman coming to Earth? Lex Luthor also has an inferiority complex. Lex Luthor is known as this supreme narcissist. He's an intellectual, he's a genius, he's a businessman, and he believes that he is above all other men. He feels himself superior to man, and then here comes this godlike figure who is literally above men, who is a Superman. So Lex Luthor throughout the film is trying to manipulate the two godlike characters, Batman being a mortal man, Superman being not immortal, but to them, a god. Into fighting each other, so that both of them can cancel out and Lex Luthor can really reign supreme. This is Lex Luthor's motives in the comics, this is his motive in the movie. But as for the quality of the movie, it is just a poorly done, poorly executed, unevenly paced, a very awkward film from start to finish. The first 2 hours of the movie completely drag on. You are introduced to the characters, and the movie just constantly switches between multiple subplots, never really focusing on the individual characters and their motivations. Ben Affleck as Batman, as we know when he was casted, it caused an uproar on the internet. He looks great under the mask. He's very imposing. He's got the 6'4", bulky stature. The Batsuit looks incredible. It is the best on-screen Batsuit, and it's very influenced by the Frank Miller Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. He's old, he's grizzled, and this Batman does not fight like he has a stick up the ass. When he gets it going, it is like a ballet of destruction. He's using the batarangs, he's using the grappling hook, he's kicking people in the stomach, he's kicking people in the dick, he's flipping around, he's punching you in the throat. This Batman is incredible, although there is one major flaw with this character, is that Batman kills. Now, I don't know how you feel about Batman killing, but for me it is one of the most important aspects of the character, because the dilemma between Batman and the Joker is, you are this vigilante who fights in the shadows, but you defend the light. You are a criminal, and if you ever kill, if you ever cross that line, I win, in terms of the Joker's perspective on Batman. But the way Batman kills in this movie, Zack Snyder tried to justify it as manslaughter. It is not manslaughter. There are scenes where this man is brutally murdering people unnecessarily for his motives. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have with Batman killing in this movie, is that it doesn't further the plot in any sort of way. It's kind of just there to be there. It's like Zack Snyder is just giving a middle finger to the fans, like, fuck you, I'm going to make Batman a psycho killer. And the evidence is that he really doesn't kill in the comics. I mean, he has done it unintentionally, and in the All-Star Batman series, he does kill people, but I think that was like a cranky Frank Miller decision. But this Batman, it's not furthering the plot in any sort of way. It's not like that moral dilemma that Superman had with killing Zod. That was a good moment, and I did not have a problem with that. But he's just killing people just for the fuck of it in this movie. Jeremy Irons as Alfred is terrific. The chemistry between the two actors is really good. But the writing is just so inorganic and unnatural. Really, the writing is the biggest fault of this movie. I don't know if it was the director's choice or the writer's choice to have this movie paced this way, but this movie is so awkward and uneven. And the movie is called Batman v Superman, but Superman, I mean, he just has nothing to do in this movie. The scenes with him are very boring. You never get the great Superman moment where he just where you're like, yeah, that's Superman. That's the Superman that we know and love. His chemistry with Lois Lane is terrible. It's got shades of Anakin and Padme in the Star Wars prequels. It's really that bad.
If you are suffering as much as I am, please tell me.
And the thing is, both of these actors are very good in these roles. It's just poorly written. It's nothing that the actors can do. It's just the dialogue is stiff. There's never a great Superman moment until the very end of the film. You know, where's the classic Superman revolving around the Earth and reversing time and building walls just by looking at them? Okay, maybe we don't want that Superman. Imagine if Donald Trump had this power. Jesus Christ, it would be bad news for the Mexicans. So Superman is supposed to have this ideological difference with Batman in terms of how they deal with the bad guys. Batman is quote-unquote trampling on civil rights according to Superman. And you never get to see the differences from Superman's perspective. There is one scene at a party thrown for Lex Luthor where Superman is questioning Bruce Wayne about Batman in Gotham. But I don't even think at this point he knows that might be Batman. So, I mean, it's really cool how they have this, difference between not just the powers, but also the philosophy. Superman as a reporter, as Clark Kent, trying to understand this Batman character, not as, the superhero Superman. It's a really interesting subplot, and you think it would have been really focused on more because this is the Batman-Superman movie. But instead, they kind of just gloss over it and brush it to the side so they can focus on setting up the Justice League. It was so much potential. The same thing with Man of Steel. They had so much potential to develop the character, and they just choose not to. So they can boom, boom, hit, punch, kick. The action scenes are great. Of course, with Zack Snyder, that's what the case always is. He has great visuals, but he lacks the substance. And for 2 hours, the movie drags on and tries to explain the motives of these characters, and then it goes straight into the third act, blow it all up. And it looks fantastic, but Batman and Superman go from building up all this hatred and tension to just losing it in a split second. It's just very lazy storytelling. The whole Martha scene is just so stupid. I mean, Batman is supposed to hate this character, thinking that he's a threat, that he can destroy the whole world. But wait, he has a mother? It's just lazy storytelling. We as the audience know Superman is a good guy, but for Batman to come to that conclusion that way, it's just so lazy. It's such a cop-out. There could have been a great dramatic Superman moment where Batman can see the real Superman for himself, and that's how he comes to the conclusion that Superman is an ally, Superman is a friend. But, I mean, they share the same mom name, so it's like, if the U.S. and ISIS both had moms named Martha, we could all live in peace. It's just like, what? Who thinks of this stuff? Wonder Woman is great, but she could have been removed from this movie, and it would have been no different. I mean, the entire subplot of Wonder Woman is that she's looking for a photograph that Lex Luthor has of her when she was, I guess, fighting in World War II on the side of the Allies. It's just so stupid and lazy. There's even a scene where she's looking at her email, and that's how they present the Justice League, on a monitor, on a laptop. It's like, what? I thought one of the best parts of the movie were Lex Luthor's motivations, the theological element where we have this mortal man who is so full of himself. He is the supreme narcissist, and here comes this godlike figure to Earth, and Lex Luthor does not know what to do with himself. What is my purpose on Earth? And we see that from the different aspects of Lex Luthor and Batman. Lex Luthor just being a complete sociopath and evil. Batman being more altruistic but almost arrogant in his view of Superman. But once again, it's not developed or fleshed out enough. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I really didn't mind it, to tell you the truth. I thought he played the part well. A lot of people who liked this movie hated him. People who hated the movie hated him. I guess I might be the only one. Me and Jesse's mom. The fact that this movie has so many subplots and it is trying to force the Justice League down our throats is a detriment to the film. There wasn't enough focus on Batman and Superman. Instead, they had all these subplots, and the Justice League cameos just completely unnecessary. The best way to set up a Justice League movie is to do a good Batman versus Superman movie. You don't need to have all these cameos. Even though the Ezra Miller Flash cameo when Batman wakes up from his nightmare dream is really well done, you did not need the other ones. They were just completely unnecessary. You could drop Justice League next week and it's still going to make a shit ton of money. You don't need to tease it. But this is a very underdeveloped film. It's just very awkward in the way that it's paced. There's no really coherent story. There's not really a plot to the movie. It's not fleshed out. When Batman is terrific, but when half of your movie, when the second main character just has nothing to do, has no fleshed out story, and this movie is just really a big, fat, convoluted mess of a movie. It's a big, fat movie. It's a fat-ass movie. So overall, I would give this movie a 4 out of 10. It's a mediocre film. It's below average. We deserve so much better as DC fans, and it's time to let go of Zack Snyder.